Wednesday night, March 6, 2024, West Palm Beach, Florida. It was just after 9:40 in the evening. An 18-year-old girl named Kelvi McCray was sitting in her kitchen eating dinner. She had her phone propped up in front of her, FaceTiming with 3 of her friends. Normal, comfortable, the kind of ordinary moment that happens in homes all across this country every single night. And then the door opened. Kayshawn Shaw, her 19-year-old ex-boyfriend, walked into that kitchen, and he opened fire. Kelvi McCray was shot multiple times. In the head, in the back, in the neck. Her 3 friends on that FaceTime call watched it happen. They saw it in real time on their screens, and there was nothing they could do. One of those 3 people became a key witness for the West Palm Beach Police Department. Their account helped investigators identify Shaw within hours. When officers arrived at a home on West 13th Street, near Gaines Park, off North Australian Avenue, they found Kelvi on the floor with multiple gunshot wounds. They found Kayshawn Shaw in the living room, slumped against a wall, with a self-inflicted gunshot wound in his head. Both of them were rushed to St. Mary's Medical Center. Kelvi McCray died at the hospital that night, a little more than 30 minutes after she arrived. Kayshawn Shaw survived through the night. He was charged with first-degree murder with a firearm before he died the following afternoon from his self-inflicted wound. Kelvi's mother, Marla McKinney, was in that house. She found her daughter gravely wounded in the kitchen, and in the chaos of those first moments, she grabbed her phone and called 911. Her boyfriend came in and shot her, she told the dispatcher. My baby's dead. A neighbor heard the gunshots and also called 911. We heard the gunshots in the house, the neighbor told the dispatcher. The son ran, and when I ran to the house, I couldn't get in. The mother let me in, and by that time, this girl she's on the floor. Kelvi McCray was 18 years old. She had just graduated from Inlet Grove High School in Riviera Beach the year before. She was in her first year at Palm Beach State College. She worked as a model and a hairstylist. She had recently obtained her license to work as a security officer. She was an influencer who posted event videos and food vlogs, and in the days after her death, her Instagram following grew by thousands as people learned who she was. Her uncle, Ricky Aiken, said she was as intelligent as she was beautiful. He called her a go-getter, a shining light, a source of inspiration for everyone around her. But here is what makes this case impossible to sit with quietly. The night before Kelvi was killed, police already knew Kayshawn Shaw was dangerous. They were already looking for him. He was already wanted, and he still got to her. Drop your city or state in the comments right now. We want to know where the True Crime Tower family is watching from. And if this story is hitting you the way it is hitting us, hit subscribe. Because what happened to Kelvi McCray is a story that every single person needs to hear. Stay with us. The full picture of what led to that night. The warning signs, the 911 calls, the police chase that ended too soon, and the questions her family is still demanding answers to, is coming up right now.
First at 10, we're hearing from the family of a teenager murdered in her own West Palm Beach home. Police say Kelvi McCray's ex-boyfriend killed her and then himself. Good evening. I'm Felicia Rodriguez. Thank you for joining us now at 10. It is a story we first told you about as breaking news last night at 11. Ari Height spoke with that young woman's family earlier tonight. He joins us live in West Palm Beach. And Ari, as much as they're hurting, they say they refuse to be sad.
Yeah, this family is showing remarkable strength, Felicia. They tell me they will not spend one moment mourning Kelvi McCray's death. They say they will instead focus all their energies on celebrating her life.
Kelvi was a beautiful young soul. You know, she was as intelligent as she was beautiful.
Kelvi McCray's family says the 18-year-old had a bright future.
She had a flair for life, you know, a flair that still inspires us today.
She was in college studying cosmetology, already running her own hairstyling business.
She loved making her friends and the young women around her more beautiful. That was a gift that she had, to make everything around her beautiful.
Wednesday night, Kelvi was killed. Police say her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old Kayshawn Shaw, came into her home on 13th Street in West Palm Beach, shot her while she was FaceTiming with friends, and then killed himself. A neighbor heard the shots and called 911.
And when I ran in the house, I couldn't get in. The mother let me in, and by that time, this girl is She's on the floor. She's in the...
We don't know whether he forced his way in. At this point, detectives have not said what he was doing, how he got in the house.
Police say Shaw was living with Kelvi. Even after the two broke up in January, she let him stay because he had nowhere else to go. But that ended Tuesday when he threatened Kelvi with a gun. Officers tried to catch him, but he got away until he returned Wednesday night.
What would drive you to feeling so hopeless that this one relationship that you probably wouldn't even remember in a few years became the crux of your life and the destroyer of futures and potential?
But despite what was destroyed, Aiken says his family refuses to let Shaw win, refuses to be devastated by her death.
My family's rejoicing. We're rejoicing at the life that Kelvi lived. We're rejoicing at the impact she's made.
And Aiken tells me they're hoping that perhaps some good can come out of Kelvi's death. They're hoping that maybe a woman in an abusive relationship will see what happened to her, and perhaps they'll get out and find some place that they can be safe. Reporting live in West Palm Beach, Ari Height, WPBF 25 News.
I feel like my daughter called the wrong number.
Marla McKinney is the grieving mother of 18-year-old Kelvi McCray. To this day, she questions how West Palm Beach police handled the response to her daughter's domestic violence case.
Maybe if she'd have called the Palm Beach County Sheriff Department, maybe Rivera, she'll still be here. West Palm Beach didn't help her.
McCray was murdered Wednesday, March 6th. Investigators say by her ex-boyfriend, Keyshawn Shaw. They say he shot McCray while she talked with friends on FaceTime. McKinney says this video from Tuesday, March 5th, the day before McCray was murdered, shows how much they believe he was a danger to McCray.
I was there. I was in the home when it happened.
Shaw was ultimately arrested but died the next day from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head while in the hospital. Monday, McKinney and her attorneys claim the West Palm Beach Police Department failed to keep her daughter safe from Shaw, even though there was never a restraining order previously filed, and Shaw had been living at the family's home for a period of time.
After the pursuit was called off, at no point in time did any of the officers offer Miss McCray a safe place to go. They didn't offer to relocate her to an undisclosed location to keep her safe from someone who was foreseeable to come back home and possibly commit another violent crime. And that's exactly what happened the very next day.
I reached out to the West Palm Beach Police Department for a response, or at least a clarification about their policy on domestic violence cases, but I haven't gotten a response. Stuart Kaplan is a former FBI agent and now practicing attorney. He says domestic violence policies vary from department to department.
I can tell you that they all have references for victim advocates, meaning to refer victims, if they are the victim of domestic violence, to other resources for them to get assistance. But it is not a legal obligation that's put on law enforcement to mandate or to force upon a potential victim that he or she must leave the home and put themselves up in a hotel.
McKinney's attorneys say they filed a public records request for documents to continue their investigation. They also say they plan to bring a claim against the city. If that isn't resolved within 6 months, they intend on filing a lawsuit. McKinney says,
it's really hard, you know, and like they say, I just don't want this to happen to another one. I don't want another Kelvi McCray ever.
In West Palm Beach, Todd Wilson, WPTV, News Channel 5.
To understand what happened on March 6th, you have to go back 24 hours. The night before Kelvi was killed, March 5th, 2024, Keyshawn Shaw held her against her will and threatened her at gunpoint. According to the family's attorneys, Shaw pointed his weapon directly at McCray during that confrontation. Kelvi got away. She ran to Gaines Park, the same park that sits just steps from her home on West 13th Street. And she called 911. She reported what Shaw had done. She told police he had threatened her with a gun. While she was standing at the park talking to officers, she spotted Shaw's vehicle. She pointed it out to police right there. In that moment, officers pursued the car. The chase went on for nearly 5 miles. And then police ended it. West Palm Beach Police spokesperson Mike Jackals later told reporters, "We had him at Gaines Park. He then fled, took off, led us on a chase for almost 5 miles. We had to terminate that chase because it was just unsafe. Shaw got away. At the time of the chase, Shaw was wanted on active warrants, aggravated assault with a firearm and domestic battery by strangulation, not minor charges, not first-time warnings, violent offenses, and he was still out there. Police were actively looking for Shaw in the hours leading up to the shooting on March 6. They knew who he was. They knew what he had done the night before. They knew he was armed. And Kelvi McCray, who had done everything right, who ran, who called 911, who pointed out his car to the officers standing right next to her, went home the night of the murder. Despite the breakup, Kayshawn Shaw had still been living in the home he shared with Kelvi and her family. That detail matters because it tells you exactly how he knew where she was. On the night of March 6, Shaw was not supposed to be there. But according to Kelvi's uncle, Ricky Aiken, Shaw snuck back into the house while someone went outside to take out the trash. He came in through the opportunity of an unlocked or briefly opened door. Kelvi was in the kitchen. She was eating dinner. She had her phone in front of her, FaceTiming with 3 friends. She did not know he was in the house. Shaw walked in and shot her. Multiple gunshot wounds to her head, back, and neck. The police report confirmed the locations of each wound. She was found on the floor when her mother and a neighbor reached her. Shaw went to the living room and shot himself in the head. Officers who arrived at the scene found him leaning against the wall. The 3 people on that FaceTime call, who had been talking to Kelvi just moments before, witnessed what happened. One of them gave police the identification they needed immediately. West Palm Beach police spokesman Mike Jackals confirmed. One of the 3 on FaceTime was actually a witness for us that provided that quick identification. Both Kelvi and Shaw were transported to St. Mary's Medical Center. Kelvi died there that night. Shaw was charged with first-degree murder with a firearm the following morning. He died that afternoon from his gunshot wound to the head. We want to hear from you. Have you or someone you know ever been in a situation where you reported a threat and felt like the response was enough? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters here, and this conversation could reach someone who needs to hear it today. The family speaks, and the questions that remain. In the weeks and months after Kelvi's death, her family did not go quiet. They spoke, they pushed, and they started asking the question that had been sitting over this case from the very beginning. Kelvi's uncle, Ricky Aiken, described his niece to reporters with clarity and love. He said she was as intelligent as she was beautiful. He said she had a flair for life. A flair, he told WPBF, that still inspires a family today. He said the family was not going to let Shaw win by devastating them. I think allowing it to not devastate us speaks volumes to who Kelvi was as a person, he said. Kelvi's mother, Marla McKinney, spoke at a press conference on April 15, 2024, 6 weeks after her daughter's death. She described finding Kelvi wounded in the kitchen. She described every day since as a struggle. My daughter was everything to me, she said. She was smart. She was confident in what she wanted to be in life. It's really hard. I just don't want this to happen to another child. I don't want another Kelvi McCray incident ever. Standing alongside McKinney at that press conference were attorneys Nick Johnson and Greg Francis of the Osborne and Francis law firm in West Palm Beach. They announced that their office had submitted a public records request to the West Palm Beach Police Department as part of an investigation into whether officers acted appropriately in the hours before Kelvi was killed. Attorney Nick Johnson focused specifically on the events of March 5th, the day before the murder. He said that Shaw had held McCray against her will and threatened her at gunpoint. He said she had gone to Gaines Park, called 911, and pointed Shaw's vehicle out to officers herself. He said police pursued the vehicle but ended the chase. The central question the family and their attorneys raised was direct. Did the West Palm Beach Police Department do enough, after Kelvi reported being threatened at gunpoint, to find Kayshawn Shaw before he found her? A spokesperson for the police department said at the time that the department was not aware of any litigation being filed and that they do not comment on pending legal matters. Under Florida law, a government agency must receive 6 months' notice before a formal lawsuit can be filed. The Public Records Review is the first step in determining whether to pursue legal action against the city. What Kelvi's story demands we understand. Kelvi McCray was 18 years old. She was a model, a hairstylist, a college student, a content creator, and a newly licensed security officer. She had her whole life lined up in front of her. She had already graduated high school, enrolled in college, built a following, and was working toward building a career. She also did everything that we tell victims of domestic violence to do. She left. She ran. She called the police. She stood at that park and pointed out her abuser's car to the officers standing right next to her. She reported the gun. She reported the threat. She gave police every piece of information she had. And 24 hours later, she was gone. That timeline, from the report to the murder, is not just a sequence of events. It is a pattern that domestic violence advocates have been raising for decades. The period immediately after a victim reports a threat, leaves a relationship, or tries to get help, is often the most dangerous window of time in any abusive situation. Shaw was not some unknown threat. He had active warrants. Police had just chased him. They knew exactly who he was and what he was capable of. West Palm Beach Police spokesman Mike Jackals said it plainly after the shooting. It's just heartbreaking an 18-year-old was killed as a result of domestic violence. He also said, if anybody is in an abusive or a domestic violence type of relationship, it's important that they get help. It's not easy, but there are resources available. And that is the truth. It is not easy. Kelvi knew it was not easy. She tried anyway. She reached out anyway. She asked for help anyway. Her family is now left carrying the weight of a system that, on that specific night, could not close the distance between a known threat and the person that threat was aimed at. Her uncle Ricky Aiken said something after her death that has stayed with people who followed this case. He said, I believe the prevailing message through this experience is that we should be highlighting the need to protect our girls through making sure they know what to do if they find themselves in a situation like this. That message is not about blame. It is about building something better. It is about making sure that when a young woman stands at a park and tells police her ex-boyfriend just held a gun to her, that information moves fast enough and far enough to actually protect her. Kelvi McCray deserved that protection. Her mother deserved not to find her daughter on that kitchen floor. Her 3 friends deserved not to carry what they saw on that FaceTime call for the rest of their lives. If you or someone you know is in a dangerous relationship or has received threats from a partner or ex-partner, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24 hours a day at 1-800-799-7233. You can also text START to 88788. These calls and texts are confidential. You can also call 911 if you are in immediate danger. And if you have information related to any case involving domestic violence in your community, do not stay silent. Silence does not protect anyone. If this story moved you, share this video right now. Put it in front of someone who needs to see it. Leave a comment. Hit that subscribe button and become part of the True Crime Tower community, because we cover these stories so they are never forgotten. For Kelvi, for her mother, for every person watching this who has ever been in a situation where they needed someone to take their fears seriously. We will see you in the next one.